Hello and good evening. I'm Abs of October Red, and guess what? Guess who I'm joined by? Mr. 258 himself, David Ghansa, aka KD, aka one of Anthony Femi Joshua's longtime friends from the beginning, but also now they walk together, not just as friends, but in business. KD, welcome.
Thank you, thank you. I like that one there. You good?
Yeah, listen, it's all going off, and I don't even know where to start. I want to talk about today. I want to talk about this week, all of that stuff. But first of all, how have you been? What have you been up to? And what's been happening with 258?
How have I been? I'm all right, busy week. The guys got out here last week. I came a little later. I was still handling a few things in London, but yeah, it's been going well. Everything's going according to plan and schedule. So busy. Everything out here is a little different, but we're not new to this. We've been here before, or two times previously to fight. So yeah, we're kind of used to that as well. But it's different to the UK.
I know you got, like you said, you've been out here before. Anthony Joshua's fought out there before. Saudi Arabia is not new turf for you guys. You know it well, but the circumstances are different. How you're out there is different. I mean, just let us, us as fans, me as a fan, the viewers, whoever, how did it come about to obviously get you guys 258 working with Turkey Al Sheikh, for the Riyadh season? How did that come about this time?
Well, do you know what? I think, as you know, we're not hard to contact. Um, we do.
You aren't.
No, we no, as in 258. We do good business. People know how to reach us. We don't shy away from nothing. So this has been bubbling for a little while. So whilst other people were talking about people being frozen out and blah blah blah, there was never no freeze out. Those conversations were always happening. And what I'd say about these guys here is they're contingency planners. I haven't really said it out loud, but there was always a chance that this date needed to be filled. This date was saved for Fury and Usyk, and the conversations were always happening in the background of, are you ready? Are you trying to go? Blah 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 blah. So I think one message for the fighters is, if you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready when the phone rings. So yeah, we've been having these phone calls. Sorry, my phone's ringing. We've been having these phone calls. We've been having these meetings for a very long time. We don't say too much until something's going to happen. But yeah, 258 got it sorted, linked it in with Matchroom when the time was right, and the fight was made.
You know what's interesting that you've said there, and stuff goes on behind the scenes, but obviously us on the outside, we're not really aware of what's going on. So you've mentioned there the Frozen. That was kind of like it was a big, massive thing when Riyadh season. It almost seems like it was solely for Queensbury. It's kind of like the Tyson Fury show with Ngannou. There was the jokes, the jabs about Frozen. So how I get it. You've got professionalism. You're a business, but how do you
Mm,
manage to like keep a lid on it when you know that it's not really as everyone perceives it to be? There are talks going on. So how do you keep that kind of professional lid on it to say, we're not going to say anything until the deal's done? And the only reason why I say that, KD, is sometimes we hear, oh, there's going to be fight news this week. It'll be out by Monday. And then we never
yeah,
hear anything. And then all of a sudden it's like, bam, this is what's happening.
yeah. I think in the business side of the world, there's so many things that can go your way and go wrong that if you talk too much, then you're always going to have to eat your words because things don't always go to plan. So for us, it's better to only announce things when like pen has been put to paper or whatnot. I think as a promoter, your job is different because you've got to promote, you've got to create an interest, you've got to keep talking about it. You get asked how many questions every single day. I'm not part of one of those management teams that want to be online doing interviews all day long. I let the fighters promote themselves. I let the managers do the promoting, and we do the management. So we stick to that type of format, and I just sit back and see how things unveil themselves. So for us, sorry, my phone's ringing again. For us, it's easier to just talk when we're sure. But yeah, I don't really listen too much to and take it personal when I see everyone talking. Like, you should know me, you've seen me about enough to know that I kind of just nod my head and be, all right, cool, cool. We'll have our time. We've had our time. Like, it's just like that. So that's it.
The business strategy behind it, it looks, I'm sat here as a fan at home watching it. As you know, I'm a massive fan of the sport, especially the heavyweights. They're exciting fighters. Fights are what we want to see. So when you sat down, with His Excellency Turki Al Sheikh, and you knew that this was going to happen. We talk about 258 as a management company,
Mm,
management of Anthony Joshua, and to get that over the line, and then obviously talk along the co-promotional side. Because I think sometimes we think when there's a management company, it's almost like a umbilical cord to the promoter. I
yeah.
understand that Anthony Joshua broadcasts on DAZN. His promoter is Matchroom, but then we've
Mm,
sort of like got 258 dealing with the business side. So we look at marrying up to 258, to Matchroom, to Queensbury, to Riyadh. How has that gone? You know me, I'm always
y-
interested in the business side.
yeah. To be completely honest, like I said, we've always been as transparent as we can be with fighters, promoters, etc. So when the phone calls happened, a lot of it was just, what's the right word I'm looking for? Was just feeling it out, seeing what was possible, and then when the right time is to bring the right people in, the right people just get married up together. And when you take it as far as you need to, where everything's in place, everyone knows where people sit, then there isn't going to be too much of a back and forth, and the negotiations don't take too long. And you leave that broadcasting part for the broadcasters to deal with, but everyone's aware of it. You let the promoters know where they stand with each other, and they have a conversation. And I think what's happening now is what's in the best interest for the fighters and the fans. So the promoters have had to park things up and just understand, you know what? There's strategies that work for the fighters right now. There's strategies that work for the division, and you either play ball or you get left out.
It's interesting you say that because Jai Opetaya's a fighter that's on the card as well, has been quite vocal of his gratefulness, one for a better word, for getting fights done. He's struggled himself. I believe that, he said he's had to take previous promoters to court. He's made no bones about the issues that he's had. And then obviously people pulling out of mandatory spots. And then, finally for him, unfortunately having to vacate his IBF. So he talks about all of these trials and tribulations a little bit more raw than you guys,
Mm,
because
yeah,
he's quite upfront and not emotional, but so like raw and honest. I guess
yeah,
he's kind of like helped us as fans understand, look, it's not straightforward. We go through
mm,
all of this. There's the, promotional
yeah,
issues, management issues, and I think sometimes, and I'm putting it back to you, KD, correct me if I'm wrong, there's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes when we're screaming, why isn't this fight happening? And we're getting really frustrated. But we don't
yeah,
get the math or the science or the politics behind making these fights.
yeah. I guess it's a tough one to answer, because I think this card is a prime example of, do the politics exist as much as we think, or like are there ways around things? And I think for someone like Jai right now, he's chosen to do what's best for him. I think everybody knows how the IBF um, operate, and we've seen it with Joe Cordino, we've seen it with Tyson Fury, even with AJ as a champion. We knew the mandatory obligations and what comes with it. And for us, I guess, luckily we've had people like Eddie Hearn in place, and just having good management to know and to have the right conversations and relationships that you need to speak to these people and be like, yo, this is what the plan looks like. How does that look with what you guys have going on, and blah blah blah. So unfortunately for Jai, I just feel like the situation hasn't gone his way. I don't agree with it, but I'm happy that he's doing what's right for him. And I think when you look at that division, we all know that he is the man there right now as well. So that's no shade on any other cruiserweights. I manage cruiserweights as well. So I just think that he's another example of, are we going to let the belts dictate what we need? So it might not be the fight everyone wants, but it's going down the right steps to show you guys that, boy, with or without the belts, he's still the man to beat. I think Tank's in a similar position as well. But then, like I said, everyone's fighting for different things. And I think first and foremostly, these guys should be fighting to change the rest of their lives, because it's a short career. So when those opportunities do come, I think you do need to take them. And that's the financial opportunities that are presented to him. He's stated it clearly so many times. Other fighters, they might have been in the game since they were kids and want to tell you that their dream is just to be a world champion and blah, blah, blah. So that's good for them. But for Jai, he's doing what's good for him. And I can assure you, he'll have a belt, another belt other than the ring, somewhere very soon. I already know that Eddie knows the game very well, and they'll be doing all they can to put things in place. So we should see some good opportunities. Our cruiserweight division in the UK is popping, so let's see what happens for him.
Touching on the belt scenario, do you think that we're getting to a point? I mean, from a management point of view, are we getting to the point where we're more interested to like divert to what the fans want, and the fans want the best fights made? Or do you think there's still, of course there's still room for the belts, but are we sort of starting to move away from
let me let Naz into my ring. One sec.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
No, it's cool.
Yeah, say that again.
Yeah, I was saying that we sort of like divert because we want to see good fights get made. And if I'm going to be honest with you, I'm not bothered about belts because it's not my legacy. It's not me that's going to have them in my cabinet. But what I would like to see is the best fight, the best. So I'm saying from a management point of view, are you starting to see a shift where it's sort of like, are we moving away from belts? Not entirely, but is there a shift from a management point of view?
No, I think it's very circumstantial. I think every fighter has their own aspirations. I think that when you do have the belts, you bring a lot more to the table. Not everybody can be a Tank or a Floyd. So I think the belts will always be necessary in the sport. And yeah, I just think that we can't discredit them. It would be nice if there was probably fewer of them, but the heritage of the sport is the heritage of the sport. So I don't think we can ignore that for the pound signs that, or the money that everyone's really in it for, as well as the accolades.
Accolades, we can touch on that. Accolades, the best fight in the best. All of us, we were sort of like believing that Anthony Joshua was going to fight Deontay Wilder. I remember I spoke to his coach, Malik King Scott, and it was sort of like waiting around, and that was the fight, and it was supposed to be with Skills Challenge, and it was going to be in December, and all of that kind of summer hype around the lead up, the build up to what we thought was going to be those guys facing each other. When you as the management company, you as 258 realized, hold on a minute, this is not going to happen. Reactions to that, and what was kind of like the plan B? I mean, we can safely say the plan B is fighting Otto Wallin on the 3rd of December. However, at the time, that breakdown, what was 258's reaction to that?
Okay, I think for me, I'll just put it out here clearly that AJ's career is very differently managed to everybody else's. So, including how I think other fighters are. I think he's always been in a position since headlining in his debut that he probably doesn't need the belts the way everybody else does. However, he is the fighter in the division who got on the road to being undisputed. So, with all credit to Tyson Fury, he did go and he did dethrone um, Vladimir Klitschko. However, the IBF became available, the belts slightly got scattered, etc. AJ went on a projection of belt collecting, and I always say this, that I always say, I think I said it on your interview, the fact that AJ was able to get that opportunity to fight Charles Martin just shows how good Matchroom Promotions has been for him as well as us, because Charles Martin won that belt on a Deontay Wilder undercard. You couldn't win a belt on our undercard, and we let you out that venue without lining up a unification. So when you look at that, you have to look at AJ's career as a map to collect the belts. Deontay Wilder this week has said to Joseph Parker, "You didn't want to fight me when you was a challenger," and I just thought, you didn't want to make him an offer he couldn't refuse, because we did, and that's how we got that unification going on. It was also about the money and what we brought to the table for Joseph. So I'm not saying he sold his belt. He definitely thought he was coming to take the belt that AJ had at the time, but I just think we've done better business, and AJ's career was that road to undisputed at the time. Now he doesn't hold the belts. We are at that stage where fights are a lot easier to be made. People don't have the bargaining they thought they had previously, and with the landscape that's going on now, I think everybody's kind of understanding the business. The egos have to get put aside, and it's, do you want to fight, yes or no? Like I said, the contingencies with these people are in place. If people don't want to fight, they've got other fights lined up to take that person's spot. So right now, I think everybody's just going for it. So I do think we're going to get a good couple years of business and boxing going on.
Would you have liked Anthony Joshua to fight Deontay Wilder like on this date? Would you have liked that fight to have happened like now?
He wanted to. He wanted to. I think from where I sit, there were, like I said, I don't think all of our eggs were in the Deontay Wilder basket. Whereas I can't say the same for the other side. I think when you look at it, AJ still has the aspirations of being a 3-time world champion, as well as fighting the best. So we've got to look at how we can deliver a strategy to him that can open up everything that he needs. So by fighting the number 2 in the IBF, what is that doing? That's putting him in a position for that belt when it becomes available. However, there is an opportunity to fight Deontay Wilder as well. So when you look at it, all our eggs aren't in the Deontay Wilder basket. Whereas I believe, where does he go from here? Do you see what I'm saying? I feel like the only question is fight AJ, whereas AJ still got the questions of being a 3-time world champion. The British public still want to see him fight Tyson Fury. They still want to see him fight Deontay Wilder. And then there's some young guys coming up as well that people want to see how you're going to match up against them. So I think we're full of options. I know that he definitely wants, he's not looking past Otto Wallin. I don't know when this is going out, but Wilder's on his radar. But as a management team, we're looking at every option to not be in one of those places where we're scratching our head if, let's say, Wilder gets injured or something. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, what you're saying does make sense now that you've explained it, because basically you're saying that, look, we can't just have tunnel vision, because we've
been here how many times? The negotiations have the conversations have opened, and then everyone gets left feeling empty if something doesn't happen. So why are you going to do that to yourselves again?
Well, that
So,
kind of like answers a lot of the questions because some of the fans were like, you know, it is, you know, I look through the comments, I see what people are talking about. That's what gives me topics to speak to you about, you know, to thankful to the fans, the trolls, the haters, the lovers, all of them. And one of the things that they said is, look, now the IBF's come into it. Now that's a possible route. He's never going to fight Wilder. This is his excuse not to fight Wilder. You've kind of
yeah.
answered that question. I'm not asking you to repeat yourself, but to reiterate to the fans that are saying, look, you know, he's going to duck Wilder. Should he get through Wallin, like we said, we're not overlooking anybody. What would
Mhm.
your answer be to those fans?
What would my answer be to those fans?
Mm.
That
In a management in a management
in a management
mm,
place,
mm.
I think they'll.
The
I think
corporate answer.
no. Yeah, let me give you the corporate answer. Repeat the question again. Actually, let me see how we're gonna do this.
Yeah, the fans are saying that obviously you've just explained that
Okay,
there's
I've just said.
options.
Okay, I've given you the
Yeah,
Otto Wallin um, opening.
yeah. There's
That's we're in a league. When you look at it, it's like football. It's a league. There's a ranking system. I'm just saying that every fight has to make some form of sense. Fighting Otto Wallin makes some sense.
because
However,
it pushed him up in the rankings. Yeah,
yeah. However, that's still theoretically speaking that that belt becomes open, and we're not going to wait around for a belt to get open. So that's why I say to you that for
options.
me, if everything goes according to plan on Saturday night, those two will meet next year. And that's probably the priority over anything else because everything else that we've mentioned, the rankings, the this and the that are ifs and buts. The one that is in front of us is these two have to meet each other and both come through and then they should meet each other. That's it.
You make it sound so simple, and it's something that we've been, you know,
It's
the
not
Anthony
because
Joshua
it's
Wilder
taking
fight has
years,
been
but
years in the making. Years in the you know, remember the phone calls with, "Yeah, I'll give you 50 million." And AJ said, "Yeah, well, if you give me 50 million, of course I'll take it." Then Eddie Hearn going over to America and people not turning up at meetings. You know, this fight is like years in the making. So even though, like I said, you'll see it from a different point of view, like us fans have been waiting like for that fight. So when you know when
I
we
think
heard,
the fighters have both been waiting. I think they've both been
see,
waiting
we're
as well.
selfish because we never think about the fighters,
Yeah,
and
I think,
that's yeah.
yeah, I think that the fighters have both been vocal. I think one more than the other, maybe because he needs it more than the other.
Ooh,
But
interesting.
definitely from our side, like I explained earlier, like the less we talk, like we don't have to talk up that fight. That fight doesn't need to be hyped or to anyone to be spoken into doing it. We know what that is. So when it's signed, when it's done in time, that's when you'll probably see the mouth talk from our side. But we just keep it moving on our trajectory.
Trajectories aside, then we, you know, it's good to see that Anthony Joshua has been extremely active this year. Um, it's nice to see. It's refreshing to
Three
see.
fights in 9 months, they're saying. We said within the year, but the
Yeah,
calendar says 3 fights in 9 months.
yeah. Well, it's
So
since April, isn't it?
yeah.
So
And
we, you know,
he'll probably go again before next April. So that's probably 4 fights within a year. Throwback fighter.
well, like I said, he's active. He's out there. He looks, you know. I'm not gonna talk about the new AJ and the old AJ because that bores me to death now. He
Yeah.
looks like he's extremely focused.
Mm.
Um, I'm not going to comment on anything else, but he just looks really focused. You're around him all the time. Talk to us a little bit about the mindset that you're seeing with him and maybe compare it to a couple of other fights if there is like a difference in his demeanor.
Mm. I think I could just say what you see is what you get. So you guys are seeing the same thing that I'm seeing, and we're getting the same thing I'm getting. This isn't just something that you switch on and off. Like he's just on this right now. So I'll just leave it as that. I don't want to talk for him too much on those personal levels and blah blah blah. I can only just talk on the business.
Otto Wallin is coming quite confident. I have commented, I do believe he thinks he's at an advantage because of him being a southpaw, and obviously because they've shared sparring together. They know each other in boxing. Your thoughts
Mm.
on Otto Wallin, as a credible opponent? See, you're smirking now, but
Yeah,
I don't know.
I was smirking. I was smirking. Um, my thoughts on him. I
Mm,
think I think there's from my side. There's just so many elements. Like I said, we're not new to this. So if you'd gone to Fort Park or Alton Towers several times as a kid, you kind of know your way around it. You're not going to get too excited when you get that day out. So I feel like looking at him, I'm just seeing a guy that's happy to be here. He's been around for quite a while, and we're still talking about his Tyson Fury fight. So um, yeah, I won't comment too much. I don't want to. I'm not a fighter, so my job's not to bring him down or anything. But I just want to reiterate that we're not new to this. We're not new to.
Anthony Joshua, then, one thing, and I did say that, I've said this plenty of times, that the only one thing that always made me nervous about Anthony Joshua is the fact of him moving trainers, whether you can say it's temporarily, permanent, a little hiatus with somebody else. It does make me nervous. Now, everybody is different.
Is the
Uh,
trainer fighting for him?
you what, sorry?
Is the trainer fighting for him?
The trainer is not fighting for him, but isn't the trainer like an integral part of the team? That person that he's got to rely on. And this is me. I'm not talking as a fighter. I'm talking as a fan watching a
Mm,
fighter come back into his corner. You get the advice. I've watched enough fights to understand the importance of a trainer. So
yeah.
when he then moves to another trainer who is, like I said, he's been around, he's had experience with, it makes somebody like me nervous. And if it makes me nervous, I guarantee it's going to be making other people nervous. So your thoughts on that, and anything that you can say to basically silence us? I'm up for being silenced. I don't
Um,
mind.
I think the best way to silence the it's not
We're not critics, so we're just
yeah,
saying it.
okay.
It's
I think the best
trainer
way to
hopping.
silence everything is to sometimes take a seat back
Mm,
and let things unravel themselves, and then let's have an opinion. Do you know what I mean? There's no trailer to this movie. We're just going straight into it. You guys will see come tomorrow, and then they can make their decisions. So I don't really want to comment on it too much. I just think we're just
okay.
gonna have to sit back and watch. But I'm very excited. Very excited.
Would you say that it is a hiatus then? Fair enough. If you can't answer me, you can't. Is he? Has it? Is Ben Davison his new permanent trainer?
Ben Davison is his trainer, and he's going in to fight Otto Wallin. And I think that's all I will say on it, for respect for everybody involved. Let's let's see how this weekend goes, and you guys make your decision up. But it's not for me to comment on.
Yeah, fair enough. You know me, I'm going to ask the question.
I know, I know.
Um,
And you know me, if I
Because
don't know the answer, I won't.
yeah,
So
yeah. Um, the performance then, like I said, he's fully focused. Uh, I like what I'm seeing. I like the whole lead up. I like the whole card, but
mm,
I like to see Anthony Joshua looking extremely focused. No nonsense. I'll call it like the no nonsense AJ.
mm,
Knockouts, stoppages. He's a combination power puncher. Are we going to
mm.
see that on Saturday night?
We're just gonna have to wait till Saturday. I think they've done enough talking, and I think I PYP, I play my position. So as a manager, I'll just let him perform and do what he's going to do. I'm not going to sit here like other guys and tell you what he can and can't do. I think we just wait now. It's the day before the fight. It's not long to see what all the fighters have said they're going to do on that card. So let's just tune into that.
All right, then finally from me, the two promoters working together. One of the things that has put a smile on my face, and it's put a smile on my face for a couple of reasons. And one of them being that you see in the world of boxing, people are quite patriotic. They're either team Matchroom or team Queensbury, and there's like a massive sea in between the two teams. You know, you get people going at each other online and crazy stuff. You know, they like hate Eddie Hearn or they hate Frank Warren. But it's crazy because Eddie Hearn and Frank Warren don't know these guys enough. But you've got strangers going at war, and then these guys, you know, the Saudis have got involved. Obviously, the money's right, and these guys have said, you know what, let's put our differences together, and now let's work together. So that's one of the things that's made me smile about it. It just goes to show that everybody else outside of it, you kind of like said it there, is insignificant. It's what actually happens at the table. But you
Yeah.
being there and seeing those guys working together, what's that like for you?
Um, you know what? I'll just talk as a businessman. I think competition is always healthy. And if you even look at, let's say, Starbucks and Costa, where they situate themselves us on the same road, a few doors apart, if they can get locations like that, or even in a shopping center, you'll see both coffee shops. But guess what? Who wins when you've got both coffee shops in one shopping center? The shopping center get what they want, they get their rent paid, and the customers have choice. Now you've got it all under one roof, and there's nothing separating the business other than who promotes which fighter. So I just think all you're seeing is a collaboration. We're in the era now where in order to keep going up, you have to collaborate. You can't just stay on your own. You'll see it with clothing brands, with you name it. There's some form of a collaboration all the time. You go to McDonald's and there's a burger that's linked up with this, and
Doritos for Burger King, yeah,
you
mad.
know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I think we just have to look at it as the business in order to get where we want it to has to collaborate, and the competition is healthy. Um, yeah, and look, promoters will still be signing the best fighters, and the best will still have to fight the best. So this is just a step towards a new world of promotion, but I don't see nothing wrong with it. I'm quite happy seeing it. I know that it can work quite well once egos are put aside, but it's business, so you can only imagine that they're all going to keep pushing to be the top dog and be the best. So let's see what happens.
Yeah, we do love to see. Are we going to see any more 258 fighters? We've got are we going to see any more 258 fighters out there in Saudi in the coming, well, next year, 2024? Is that a possibility?
Yeah, 100%. Part of what we do is bring in the rest of the stable in. So I think when you look at AJ's last fight out here, we had Ben Whitaker on the undercard. That was a boxer slash Sky Sports fighter on AJ's undercard, which was shown on Sky Sports. The conversations are being had. Our stable are getting ready so that when the call does come, we can see it. So yeah, that's just kind of part of what we do. We're trying to bring ourselves through using him to the best of our ability. So yeah, that's happening.
Excellent. Listen, David, I could pick your brains all night. There's so many things that I want to talk about, but I'm mindful of time. I'm grateful that you've given me yours. Literally, I've tried to get hold of everybody out there in Saudi, and you're the only one that said yes. So I'd like to say thank you very much for saying yes. Viewers, if you've got any comments, anything that you want to put down, we'll see if KD and I can catch up again post fight. Just let us know, comments, questions, anything you want to ask in the comment. Please keep it respectful. You've got to remember that guests give me their time, and they're taking the time out of their day to come on my channel. So please be as respectful as you can in the comments. And if there's any valid questions, we will sure as hell answer them. KD, thank you once again.
Thank you. All right, take care.
People say I'm toxic, and honestly, I don't care.